After 4 months of experimenting with generative AI, I decided to also make a making of my latest film, Eternal Rapture. I had wanted for some time to make a film in anime style, an animation style I have been attached to since early childhood. I had had the script in mind for a few days, and I started looking for the characters' aesthetics, as well as the general mood of the film. One of the first images that inspired me was that of the Zeppelin, a symbol of the complexity, with a retro vibe, of the media system of that time. I also needed a cybernetic armor, half human, half machine, which symbolizes my art, created outside these systems, and yet part of them. There were many attempts to find as faithfully as possible the correct representation through image of the concepts and sensations that I still retain in memory even now. Here I was trying to find a visual representation of the public image of the media artist, which, in my opinion, functions as a virtual exoskeleton in the collective mental space. With each generation, the AI surprises me with details and information I did not expect. One of the strange surprises that AI offers you spontaneously. Here I was looking for a suitable image for the metaphor that would show that sometimes artists are real batteries, supplying energy to the media system. I also needed the convincing image of a cyborg that would show the fact that some pawns act in the world are not entirely human, but neither machines. I generated the male character starting from a photo of mine from high school, which I reconditioned first. Then I asked the AI to generate similar physiognomies. I wanted to obtain an avatar with which viewers could identify more easily and which would integrate better into the aesthetics of classic anime. I then thought not to make anime anymore, but an actual film. The images were very beautiful, but then I thought that animation is more tolerant of inconsistencies. The AI is still immature, and the physiognomies are not yet consistent from one scene to another. There were numerous attempts to find exactly the aesthetics and the level of detail that would be unified and that would faithfully represent my vision. I am extremely careful to represent in works as exactly as possible what I see in imagination. I still needed the image of a girl whom I was in love with in high school, but to whom I never had the courage to speak. I then started to generate the key images. Although the prompts are quite precise and consistent, I each time leave the AI the freedom to surprise me. An old pleasure of mine to let randomness and the algorithm bring the unforeseen into any work and create a bit of surprise for me. Other times, I make countless regenerations just to capture some specific detail that I absolutely want in the image, such as here the exact density of the cloud of smoke around the airship, the exact position of the camera, or the thickness of the contour line of the drawing. Sometimes the AI stubbornly, after countless regenerations, does only what it wants. And then I let it and adapt further, taking it into account as a true creative. Sometimes it seems to know better than I do what I want in the end. Here I struggled a lot to find the perfect image of the airship seen through the eyes of the android, through a high-tech infrared sensor, the perfect mix of retro-futurism and steampunk, or the way in which an anonymous follower tracks the android through equipment once produced in the past of the future. I then moved on to generating the video sequences, also making numerous attempts at this stage to capture as faithfully as possible the dynamics of the movements. Sometimes I am not sufficiently explicit or rigorous, and then the AI generates contradictions. Other times it surprises me by adding unexpected details which beautifully complement my initial idea, probably based on the vast experience of our predecessors and the billions of terabytes of image and film history which it now contains in memory. I did the editing in DaVinci Resolve. The quality of the images and the video fragments was so good from the start that I no longer felt the need to color grade or adjust almost at all. I had, in the end, 8 scenes, each containing 10 to 15 sequences. The fact that I did not plan almost anything from the beginning and improvised along the way created an atypical structure that closed by itself. I only applied a film look dear to me, with a retro note, Polaroid, and small saturation adjustments to equalize the dynamics of the colors. I put the project aside for about 2 days, letting the subconscious work, looking for the inspiration and the mood of the soundtrack. I created an airy, simple piece with few layers, but I felt the need for a more complex harmonic foundation. I returned, as I often do, to PG-8X, my favorite electronic piano. All the guitars, about 4 in number, are generated by Electric Sunburst Deluxe. A wonderful plug-in, as are all those from Native Instruments. For pads and synths, I sometimes rely on Polymax from UAD for its incredible digital emulation of the warmth of analog devices. The drums I programmed in MIDI as simply as possible because I did not want to capture the viewer's attention with unnecessary details in the soundtrack. For depth, I also added small ambient elements from the preset bank of Prism in Reactor, also from Native Instruments. I also felt the need for an electric guitar solo, but I opted in the end for a synthetic lead generated by Sylenth from a preset bank created especially for Retrowave, also by Sennheiser. I spent some time drawing the solo by hand in order to give it as synthetic a touch as possible. The bass comes from another collection dedicated to Retrowave, from Sennheiser, supported, of course, by a 16th note arpeggiator. As I gradually enriched my collection of pseudo-analog saturators, I used Oxide tape recorder from UAD, Model M from Cush Audio, and True Iron from Kazrog. The reverb is the popular Valhalla in various instances, the large gated snare, preset for the snare drum, and the instrumental in 80s mode for an additional retro flavor. On the master bus, I applied necessarily Gullfoss, an AI-based plugin which reduces so efficiently the frequencies that disturb the ear. I compressed lightly in multi-band mode with Pro MB from FabFilter and I limited with Pro L in the end. And that's it. This was the process stretched over the course of a few days in which my film, Eternal Rapture, was born.